Okay, after a health break, welcome back. We proceed with our session. And the next session, now we're going to real business. We are going to have the first session. And this session on women in the global legal profession will be moderated by Angelista Nation Advocate. Angelista Nation is a managing partner at Africa Attorneys. She's a corporate and civil litigation attorney. She has over 9 years of experience in the legal field. Her practice mainly concentrates on commercial litigation, corporate governance, employment law, and family law, focusing on probate, divorce, and custody matters. Angelista, having worked with high-end reputable companies, she has in-depth knowledge, understanding, and expertise, and experience dealing with complicated regulatory and compliance issues essential for business growth. As for now, Angelista is a sitting representative to the International Bar Association representing Tanzania, and she has also been a Mandela Washington Fellow in 2016. Also, she's a beneficiary of Shining Alumni. Currently, Angelista Nation is a member of the TLS Junior Lawyers Professional Development Committee. So, having Angelista on this session is highly appreciated. I would now like to invite her on the podium so as you have the floor.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm not so sure if that is all me, but well, if it is, then I'm proud of myself. As introduced, my name is Angelista Nation. Very happy to see you this morning. Interesting enough, my topic today is actually going to be focused on women in the legal profession. But I'm looking in the room and I'm a bit shocked. Where are the women? Yeah? You're here. That's very good. So it's going to be very interesting. I have a very, very interesting panel for you guys today. And we are going to be discussing in depth of where the legal profession is for women, where it's headed, and what is it that we can do to actually take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to us. My very first speaker is Tike. Many of you know Tike Mwabibile. She's the Executive Director of Tanzania Women Lawyers Association. She's also a Chief of Party of Mwanamke Imara Initiative. Tike renders legal counseling and court representation to marginalized women and children. Now, because of shortage of time, when I introduce you, my panelists, please step forward so that we actually roll over soon after. Tike, is Tike in the room? Tike is there. Karibu sana. Yes, please. And then my second panelist is not going to be with us physically, but virtually. Now that is the beauty of technology. I'm not so sure if the tech guys are actually working that out. Her name is Laila Latif. Now I was hoping we'll see her on the screen. So Laila is a qualified advocate, but also a legislative draftsperson with over 11 years of experience. She's also a chief executive at Laila Teeth and Company Advocates. And my third panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than a guy that we love having around. And He has so many accolades, but to be brief, I would say he is also the father of the Lawcon in Tanzania. This is none other than Shezad Wali. So Shezad is the managing partner of Stallion Attorneys, but with that, he is also, I'm tempted to say she, but he is also, Shezad is also a chairperson for Utu Kwanza. He's very passionate about Utu, Utu wa watu na Utu. He's also the chairperson actually of the Junior Lawyers Development Committee, which I'm proud to say I'm his vice chair. Shezad is also, I think I'll end there because he asked me outside to be very humble about him, so I was fair with that. So ladies and gentlemen, our main topic today is women in the global legal profession, and I think we are still trying to see Laila. So while we wait, I'll go direct and welcome TK to start giving us a brief remarks on the topic. And then later on we'll move to Lailat. After Lailat, obviously our gentleman will give us a very brief remark to balance us. Yeah, that's his role, by the way. He's going to be our PH, you know, like Alkaline Stefano. And then after that, we'll move on to question Q&A for them, but also the audience. Karibuni sana, and I wish you a very, very interesting discussion. Karibu TV.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I have the energy. And what happened? We're just coming from having tea, so we should have that energy. So Angelista, when she started, she was asking, where are the women? And here we are discussing, but I'm happy that we have men around. But this is a challenge to us. We are very few here, and when we have these kind of opportunities, we should be attending. But this is where the network, this is where we are getting, businesses and all that. Now, with my presentation, I know you guys started reading it, so I was wondering when I was sitting down here, I was asking myself, now who are reading the presentations? What am I going to say? When already they have what I'm going to speak, that it's okay. Now, the first thing I was asking myself, and I was thinking maybe we can Google. We are talking about women lawyers. There are so many stereotypes around us, the women lawyers. And I'm sure majority of us who are here, you will relate. Even where we are living, most of the feedback we are getting about us being women lawyers, they are not that positive. But again, the women lawyers, most of the time, are the best. Why? Because of our nature. We are that passionate, We are that caring, When we have clients, we give them all time, we engage them, we do all that stuff. Just the fact that we are women. So most of the time, we make the best lawyers. Although, when it comes to business, we are not that aggressive. And why? Because of the culture, the way we are brought up from, our families, from our parents, and all that, makes us somehow we're not that aggressive, but we are very good lawyers. I know some of you are going to debate later. I'm expecting that. I will defend myself. And with the history, did you know that at a time, women were not recognized as persons? And we started to be recognized as persons after a a lady called, I will use the surname, Bev, went to court in Britain in the year 1889. And then she was supposed to be the first woman to sit in the bar in Britain, but then she died. Then Ivy Williams became the first in the year 1922. Same as in Canada. Women had to go to court to defend themselves, to be recognized as persons. At the same time, they had to defend themselves to sit in the bar. Hey, man. Hey, being a woman, it's so nice. It feels nice. And again, in Tanzania, what happened? Under the Criminal Procedure Code, Chapter 20 of the Revised Laws of Tanganyika, women were even barred from serving as court assessors. However, this provision was repealed in August in the year 2002. Imagine, just recent. And then in 1970, that's the first time when we had the first magistrate to sit as a magistrate, and we know that judge. And that was Helen Munu, and later on she became the first judge to sit in the Court of Appeal, while Judge Manning was the first to sit in the High Court. And just recently, we never had a woman who is a DPP. We only had a deputy one. That was Tulia. To date, we don't have a woman who has been a DPP, as a DPP, not deputy, to date. So the challenge, we are challenged as women. Why? What happened? And yet, women lawyers are known to be, compared to other women, at least for us, we try our best, but that, our best is not enough. So there's a need to do more for us, even in the private sector. To see women at the top, they are very, very few. And even when it comes to the law firms, to see a law firm that is led by a woman, very few. Just recently, I saw one law firm which has only women, but still there's more that the women lawyers need to do. Now, what has been the challenges globally and even here? What I was speaking, and most of the challenges, you might think sometimes as the women lawyers in Tanzania, we tend to think we have so many problems. But in the same as Europe, America, everywhere, the challenges are equal. They are the same. Only that they might differ somehow because of the context, the culture, and all that, but women are facing the same challenges. This thing is moving. Ahead of me. Yeah, so again, one of the challenges that women are facing is the issue to do with compensation. You will agree with me, in most companies, you will have two directors. One is the woman, another is the man. And then there are times that woman has been in that company longer than the colleague. But when you look at their salaries, the woman's salary is less compared to the man. So what is the problem? Maybe negotiation. So maybe that's something, again, women, we are challenged. We should be able to negotiate our salary. But again, there's that tendency, people tend to think, women, and especially those who are at their reproductive, they are active in their reproductive, now they're giving birth and all that. There's that tendency for people saying, now this one, she will break for 3 months, she'll be pregnant, the child will be sick, she'll have you want to take care of that child and all that. So maybe there are times some of the employers, they tend to give less than the man. But again, I'm still challenging as the women, we have to work hard and ensure that when we are negotiating, we should be proactive, we should negotiate. again, I was just talking about, us getting pregnant and all that. We're being penalized sometimes. Yeah? And most of the time when it comes to promotion, that this one, you can't promote this one at this time. And there are times, even as the women, we sit and say, no, this one, no, we can't. Remember the other time she was missing because she was pregnant, she was what, she was this and that. So, why should someone be penalized just because, she's being a parent? She's bringing someone to this world. And again, we are behind the shadow of either our partner or our colleagues. So sometimes we're not getting appointment just because of that. And the other thing, the women lawyers, the fact that there are very few women lawyers at the top, it makes that we have very few, again, mentors to mentor them, the young ones. And this is also a challenge. Most of the time, men, they mentor themselves. And that mentorship is not about that form where you have to sit and all that. Men, they have their, after work, they go somewhere and they sit. When they sit and they, most of the time, as the women, we are rushing home to go look after our children, to go look after our husband. I'm not sure whether they appreciate that, and all that. So that mentorship is lacking. So we need to debate that, we need to discuss. The attitude, when I started, I talked about the attitude. The attitude in our communities when it comes to us, the women, and the women lawyers. Why do I be doing? Why do I Hey, we don't have peace, the money. What are the opportunities? Or what can we do? Somehow I was speaking about what we can do, but then I have this part and then I should speak somehow. What should we do? The first thing that I think we should do is to ask the women lawyers, we need to sharpen our skills that will give us necessary opportunities, For example, how do we communicate where we are? And again, issues to do with how do we develop ourselves to ensure we are able to compete with others. And what about our emotional intelligence? Because most of the time, yesterday I was dealing with one of my colleagues, a friend of mine. She had an issue with her boss. And she's like, no, me, I'm going to quit. You quit. And that is the challenge to most women. You face a small challenge, you want to quit. You push it. You don't want to go forward. So we need to pull up ourselves in that particular component. But mentorship is very important. And this mentorship is not about you getting someone to go talk to. It's about seeing maybe some people, what are they doing? How are they behaving? Yeah? When we are attending meetings, when we are, when we go to different places, get someone where you can learn from, even by far. But also, get someone you can learn near. You can go talk to when you have something. For example, myself, I have like 4 women that when I have an issue, I go talk to them. And who are very senior. So it's very important to have mentors to push you, to pull you up. Then at the end of the day, we will have more women who are doing good. Network. We need to network. If you don't network, what will happen? Belong to different groups. If I'm to ask here, how many people are members of Taula, for example? I know you're very few here. There are some who are here. They are not members. And most of the time when you talk to them, say, now, what am I going to benefit? Am I going to get money? Am I going to get this and that? But it's not about the money. It's about when you are in those groups, what you gain. It's where you can have a small conversation, and that conversation can pull you up, can take you places. So if you belong to those forums, groups, they will take you to so many places. Again, be proactive. Don't wait for an opportunity to come to you. Be proactive, grab those opportunities. If you're working somewhere, make your boss busy. Boss, hey, one of the boss like that. You know, make that boss of yours busy. Then, and make people remember you in case they want to maybe they don't have funding to sustain you. They have to think so hard to retain you, to find opportunity to retain you. Why? Because you are that proactive and you do your part well. And take up those difficult challenges. And again, learn to pick up battles. Be careful. There are some battles you don't need to fight there and then. There are some battles you just have to step back and say, okay, let me see this, how it will go. But there are those battles you have to fight. You need to. And again, let's celebrate those milestones. Whatever you achieve, celebrate. You know? Because at the end of the day, the struggle is real for us women. But there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. Yeah? Why now most of the law firms, bar association, they have that diversity initiative to include the women, to include all the genders. And this is not only in Tanzania, globally. That initiatives are there to ensure that you have this, how many women do you have? How many men? And all that. So there is that hope. And again, women have to continue working hard to break the glass ceiling and take proper place at the top. And we sure can and we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So there was a lot of discussion and negotiations between which men do we put here on this topic. And we went through a lot of men. We actually thought of so many men. Some men are actually in the room. And then we said, no, not this one. No, how would this one feel? And then finally, Priscilla there decides and says, Shazad, you should be there. And I say to myself, why not? Let me take this challenge and talk about women in the global legal profession. Now, I have to say that, in my opinion, and many men might not agree with me in the room, but I think women are more professional than men when it comes to doing anything they do, okay? They are very particular about what they do. They are focused, and I speak from experience because I live in a house with my mother-in-law, my mother, my daughter, and 2 house helps who are all women. So I see them on a daily basis. And in my office, I think Gloria will agree, I think 70 or 80% are women. So I'm always surrounded by so many women. And actually, President and Sharon, 2 women, have made this Lawcon very much possible. So again, it's women. But what's the problem? So throughout history, and TK pointed out as well, that it is always spoken of that women are too sentimental for jury duty, for example. This was a cartoonist called Kenneth Russell, who would portrayed that cartoon. And that's how history thought of women. And so over the years, it kept on going on. However, we then had a change. Few examples down the history lane is, for example, Maria was the first woman admitted in practice law in Argentina in 1910. We have an example from China. We have an example from Pakistan. And we do have an example from South Africa. So you can see that women have been pushing and trying to break the barriers. But as TK mentioned, there are a lot of challenges that women are facing in the legal profession. And I do want to differ a little bit from TK and Angelista by saying that we actually have a lot of women in the room compared to other law conferences that we've attended in the past. So thank you very much to all the women that have made it today. But what is my experience? And this is what I'm mainly going to share. From my experience, women are actually entrepreneurial minded. They always think about how can we save, how can we make. They always advise their husbands, their boyfriends, their brothers. They actually, when they do get into the entrepreneurship space, they prosper in whatever they do. The moment you see a woman, an entrepreneurial woman, she will prosper. And they know how to push through. And I have a lot of women in this room who I actually admire, and you will hear from them. The moment a woman knows what she's worth, she can create miracles. Women will ask for what they want. And this is true in all the professions. They know their values. They're very good at saying, no, this is not for me. Yes, this is for me. And I know this, and I've experienced this even in the office. I come across these women and they share this. But again, you may not agree, but women are hustlers. They can go through hours and hours. They can push things. They can, I know Tika said that a lot of women like to go home after work, but I do know a lot of women that, can push and can make things happen. One of those is actually sitting here, Angelista. Every time I ask her, for a cup of coffee, she's always busy. I keep asking her, are you so busy? But, I know she's a hustler, aren't you? See? Women are authentic and good at communication. This is a very good strength. They're always honest about what they think, what they feel, and they will not fear sharing that. They will always speak their mind. And they're always good at communication. They're not, unfortunately, like some of us, the men. We always go beat around the bushes when we want to make our point across, but they're very good at hitting it right there. As I say, women are honest. And a lot of times when I speak to a couple of my fellow partners who are men and they struggle in their offices, I always tell them, you need to hire more women in your office. They're honest. They'll always give you an honest feedback. And it's true. It's really sad, and I'm not going to say that, and I'm not going to belittle men around here, but when you give a task to a man, and he goes out to accomplish a task, if he doesn't have a feedback for you, or if he's doing something around the bushes, he will not give you the right feedback. But when you give a task to a woman, she'll always come back and tell you everything, including how frustrating it was doing what she was doing. So that way, you will see that by her honesty, you can actually get things done because now you know what the challenge is. But the men will go through a month sometimes and you have no feedback. So I've experienced that in my years of this profession. And again, women are focused and can multitask. However, I want to put a caveat here that not all women can multitask. Okay? I have experienced women can't multitask. But again, the reason why they say women can multitask is because they can create compartments and put everybody in their place and say, so I need to do this for my husband, this for my child, this for my office, this for this. Unfortunately, as what Tika said, they put themselves last. So when you are multitasking, learn to put yourself first. But also to the men in the room, learn to support the women. That's another challenge. And I don't think Tika mentioned it, but that is a challenge, Tika. Men think that because men are the bread earners, because men need to go out there and get stuff, they can let the women work, go home, take care of kids. But sometimes, tell your wives, your mothers, your sisters, it's okay for you to take a break. I'll do the housework. So, I will answer Angelista's question during the panel discussion if you don't mind, because I understand with time. But otherwise, this was my experience, and to the women in the room, go get it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shisa. Like I told you guys, he has a way of balancing everything around the table. And, you know, like Shazada said, if you actually check everything that she's spoken about a woman, is actually where your power is. And that's actually where everything, every magic that you think you can pull in this world, into your career, in the legal profession is actually there. Because think about it. Have you ever focused on something and it actually didn't work? Because if you pause for a moment and look into your life and go back to that very thing, one thing that you actually put all the focus and everything into it, it actually turned out to be magical. And so, because of time, what I'm going to do, we have so many interesting questions and the panel is really like dive deep into that. I'd like to welcome Laila for her quick presentation, and then we'll move straight to so many questions that I personally have for the panel, and I'm sure you guys have. And all the questions that you guys have will be discussed in the panel.
So while Laila is coming up, we actually didn't plan to have any virtual presentations, but unfortunately Laila got stuck in Malawi, where she was told that her PCR test was positive. So she couldn't fly into Tanzania last night. And so, but knowing Laila is an amazing speaker actually, we thought we could try this out and bring her online. So I hope you can hear her.
Thanks, Shazada. Can you hear me? Am I audible enough?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Great. Ready to go when you all are?
Yes, you can please go on now to that.
Yes, I can hear you. Great. Okay, so shall I just begin with the presentation? 10 minutes?
Yes, we are ready for you, but we are If you can wrap it into like maybe 7 minutes, that would be great.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. It's really unfortunate I can't be there in person, but thank you for this opportunity, for allowing me to speak to you guys today, to present Shazada, Sharon, Fazila. Your team has been fantastic in organizing this conference, and I look forward to many of these going forward. So I've basically been asked to speak about what are the challenges women face when aiming for leadership opportunities as part of business or within their law firms, and also some tips that I can share in terms of how we can get women to get more into this leadership role. So, being that I have a comment, I don't very fast. If I'm speaking too fast, you can just flag that out for me. So, I think that some of the challenges women face when aiming for leadership opportunities really depends at the stage a woman is in her career, whether it is at entry level or mid-stage practicing lawyer, since this is where she has to, prove herself and her competence. This is where she can get easily dismissed by cliques and gatekeepers within the profession. And it also becomes challenging to bid for substantial procurement contracts or even attract multinational corporations or big businesses on retainer. So usually at entry level and even at mid-stage, if she's at a stage of motherhood with caring responsibilities, then the time limitation itself poses a challenge in her growth as a leader, as part of the law firm, as she has to divide her attention between her work and children. So we all know, and you can all confirm this, that the legal profession is very competitive, and you have to invest time in building your profile and networking. And it's not very easy for women, and women from different backgrounds, being Muslim, being Jewish, with colored women as well, if you're looking at legal practice within European countries. So when it comes to challenges faced in leadership, I think it is basically at two levels. It is from leadership as a part of the legal profession itself, and then there's a leadership role within the law firm itself. So it's like a two-tier. And if we start by considering statistics, women are more in terms of percentage of the global population, yet only about 27% of women are in leadership. And the percentage is even lower. I think it's about 5% for women who hold top-tier C-suite level jobs. And by C-suite, I just mean, like chief executive officer, senior partner, chief financial officer, etc. And this low percentage demonstrates that women are actually stuck in entry-level roles, which is a severe restraint on their leadership potential in the future. So this also definitely is a challenge to their leadership capability. Because when you're stuck in menial jobs, in just running to court for litigation or just handling briefs or small corporate claims within your chambers, your chances of actually growing as a leader, as a recognized expert in a specific area of law is hampered if you're going to be stuck within this specific roles. So some of these challenges are also what restrains women from advancing in leadership is this problem that we daily grapple with. It's daily unconscious bias. Now, I don't know what your views are, but do you think there is subconscious judgment from our peers that we cannot dedicate adequate time to growth of business because of our nature of being women and because of this placement of women within the domestic chores landscape, right? There's a further problem of unequal pay, which actually restricts women's rise to leadership. Now, this is a concern. It's a concern in Kenya. I think it could be a concern potentially in Tanzania, because it's also a concern in the UK. And it is restricted when a woman is considering to break into high-paying jobs, right? Because they are paid little. Apparently, the statistics say, Clifford Charts, they got this morning, in a report that they confirmed that women are paid 65.7% less than men, right? So if you're considering to break into high-paying jobs, and because you're already paid little, you probably cannot even support your own skills enhancement, which in turn is going to strike you out of promotion criteria, which means your leadership opportunities, your leadership goals for the future are thwarted, and that's usually a main challenge with this problem of unequal pay. Now, another challenge towards rise of leadership or rise to leadership that I have witnessed is that some women, we make mistakes by adopting the do-it-all approach, right? So I do not know if some of you are guilty of this, but when you want to rise in the leadership role within your law firm or generally around your practice and profession as part of the fraternity, you cannot do it on your own. You have to have a team. You cannot traverse the terrain of leadership without a team. In my view, I think it's very important to have somebody to constantly shadow you. So think of it, when you're running a law firm, and you're the only one who's dealing with litigation or advising on it. You're the main lead on corporate matters. You are the go-to person for capacity building and training in your law firm. You're the go-to person for research and development. And you are also the main lead working towards the maybe philanthropic arm of your law firm. That is if your legal practice does all this. And you're not having somebody to shadow you along. In the long run, the business is bound to fail, and your approach to leadership is wanting, because you're not going to get there, because you're going to be so, grabbed within the mundane elements of management that you can't think about strategic vision in planning your leadership style. So those are the challenges, ladies and gentlemen. And if I can turn quickly to address some of the tips that can be considered in terms of growing or taking up leadership in the legal profession, and I want to speak from experience here, is that I think we really need to develop our niche. We have to be focused on a specific area, and we have to specialize. That's how we can engage with a specific market and be known as an expert or a thought leader. We've got to go beyond our chain of practice and litigation. And we have to try and explore the research world. This is phenomenal, right? And we have to be able to work with civil society and other funding bodies to generate, legal scholarship on core current issues. We can't avoid this if we want to build ourselves and a leadership portfolio for the next 10 or 20 years. Now, for example, just think about the problem of illicit financial flows. Issues to do with addressing sustainable development goals, how to tackle climate change. In all this, legal input is always needed. And conducting research as part of the law firm and as part of our individual growth, it always gives us an extra income stream, which is necessary if we want to be able to progress towards leadership criteria. You also have to be willing to grow your team and build your skill set, so you can confidently take up more work and also free up your own time and pursue things to enhance your own skill set. So take up a master's degree or a PhD or any certification courses. I think this is very important if you want to have that pull of a stronger clientele, cross-border clients, and also gain an international reputation. We have to be in a position that as women where we are sitting in international decision-making circles that consider legal reform that's going to impact our country's national sovereignty and also the growth economically and socially of our country's landscape. So I think it's really important to factor research as part of our leadership growth. Now, leadership is also demonstrated, and this is a great tip, by the fact that you're willing to nurture your team and design your practice in a way that responds to the market demands. But you also have to see how to fill in the gaps within the legal practice. And I really can't think of a better example than the legal and tax implications of the metaverse, right? And how the metaverse is going to impact legal practice in the future. So if you want to grow as an expert or a leader in this field, you have to start investing in designing projects and getting funding to examine these legal implications, and also attend training courses where you can learn about NFTs and accountability streams over the blockchain. All this gives us leverage as women. It gets our work noticed, and that's how we will attract clientele. So just to think of it, in growing your law firm, or as part of your leadership role, you've got to have a diverse set of clientele. And these should not only be people with legal problems or corporations, the general crowd that we are used to, but you have to be able to tap into the think tanks, the research bodies, the training centers, and work with them to grow. And that's why, extra masters, PhD is really relevant if you want to become an international player as a lawyer. You have to also build an alliance with your contemporaries and actually be present, on the continent, nationally, even internationally. I think because being women, we are kind of restricted because of time and many responsibilities we have. And this means that there's always going to be a tendency to avoid social networking or interactive events for lawyers, and that needs to stop. So I graduated in 2009 from the University of Nairobi, and when I attend some of the networking events, I hardly see my female colleagues from my cohort. All I see are the newbies coming in, or some of our seniors, and majority of my male counterparts, but the women are missing, right? And this is the problem of mid-career lawyers, mid-career female lawyers, right? We're much on the landscape, and that's not quite.
I'd like you
I'm
to...
wrapping up.
Yes, please.
Yes. So that's not good if we're thinking about, investing more into developing a leadership portfolio. And finally, I think importantly, the only tip that I would like to give you, and as a takeaway, is that as women, we must learn to trust ourselves. We are our biggest critics, and we hold ourselves back because of this imposter syndrome, and the need to constantly have to, explain our intelligence to some male counterparts. So I think trusting ourselves is the greatest step that I will be able to give for now. Over to you. Thank you.
Such a very, I would say, informative presentation. That was very interesting. But cycling back to you, Laila, before you leave, you opened up us into another yet scary, I would say, not only to women, but also probably gentlemen in the room, when you speak about metaphase, the NFTs. If we are, and this really here, I'm circling back to TK and Shazad, these challenges that we've been facing, for ages, and we were hoping that we're actually getting somewhere. And now you're telling us we are moving into literally another new world, if I must say. Isn't that something that we should be even more scared of as women? And if so, is there anything that you can actually tell women in the room that they can do to actually take advantage of the new space, metaverse, and all these NFTs and stuff? Over to you, Laila.
To respond to the market is 10 steps ahead of us. And sometimes women are 20 steps behind the market, as well as the legal reforms that are taking place. So it's never too late. I really feel that, following COVID, the amount of investments that have been made by industries, academia, and practice to move things online is really helpful, because now many women have access to mobile phones, they have access to data, and they're able to now start, this process of learning on the go. And becoming professionals on the go as they get exposed to different streams. The University of Nicosia is currently hosting free courses on understanding how to design non-fungible tokens, NFTs. It's a free course, it's a 6 weeks course. All you need to do is get online an hour a day and learn. So right now the registration is open. Anybody who feels that they really want to get to learn more about the metaverse and the incoming NFTs, the University of Nicosia is the right step to go into. Number one, it's free, it's open to access to everybody. You don't need to have any understanding of computer science to be able to do the pre-starter course. So it's not scary. The issue is, do we have access to resources? Do we have access to finance? Do we have time? And do we have a good network to support us in our vision to be able to develop ourselves going forward? Of course, there are a lot of limitations. There is the limitation of the lack of role models within law firms who will nurture incoming associates, right? So that has to stop. We are working within an outdated economy because law firms are very conservative. The transition to digital trends is slow, but is taking place. We have to fight against implicit bias, and if we are coming from, constrained mindsets, then discrimination and racism against women of different colors is also a problem. Sometimes it happens in Kenya, in South Africa, sometimes it happens here in Malawi as well. So as we have to debate and fight against these challenges, the legal front for women is quite phenomenal. There are a lot of advantages that women can take to grow. We do not have to wait for the law to give us the gender equality that is needed for us to be able to invest in some of these things for ourselves. So knowledge is really important, and I really feel as women, we really need to traverse into the fields of research, because that's where a lot of money is, and a lot of growth is in terms of career growth.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you have. I was actually about to tell you, unfortunately, we are hearing so much interesting stuff, but the time is not with us. And so I'll move back to my physical panelists here, and I'll go straight to TK. TK, you've spoken about so many challenges, really, and you really referred to an example of where you have Tanzania Women Lawyers Association, but the membership, taking up these spaces is actually not taking place. And I, for one, I believe we live in a society where if we have to move any agenda, it has to be very inclusive. So we have to take men, women, institutions, and everybody on board. Is there anything that you think we can do to fix either systemic, societal, or anything that really we can do amongst ourselves, or force the institution to actually pull these numbers up in terms of taking space, say Taula, or this, to really further women into the legal profession?
Yeah, thank you. Well, to answer this question, I think it starts with all of us. It starts with us within. And at the same time, it has to also start from the mindset of where we live, because it all comes. So when we are young, we are told, if you swallow, Banzoka, yeah? Then your intestine will have some issues, yeah? And then you end up dying. So most of us will not do that. And I see some people are laughing. So most of us will end up not doing it. And it stays with us. Actually, it stays to date. If by mistake Nikimeza, I will spend like 2 days traveling. Why? Because it's valid. So it starts from the way we bring up our children. That men and women are equal, girls and boys are equal. How do we train them the same? But it's only that it's a biological factor that makes us different, yeah? But we can do everything. You see, even now, girls are driving those big stuff and all that. So it's only that biological part of it. And there are some things that men may not be able to do, that women may not be able to do. But let's not discriminate this other party just because of that person is a woman or a man. So it has to start from down there. Then later on, then we'll have communities, or we'll have people taking up positions equally. And we'll have more men and women taking up positions. Because now, in terms of education level, it's the same, it's equal. So sometimes you ask yourselves, we go to the university the same, but when it comes to the market, when we come to the field, that's where now you see that gap. You don't see so many men, or you don't see you don't see so many women at the top. Why? It comes back to that value. How we train ourselves from our houses up to our communities. So I would think it has to go back to our value. The moment we change that, and it is changing. Because when you look at some of the women, like for example here, Angelista and some of us who are here, the way we are bringing up our children is different. And you are seeing the changes. You're seeing girl child is asking questions, yeah?
At home, maybe you're telling your child, do this or don't do that. They'll ask you, why should you try to do that? So I think that's why I said earlier that there is hope. It is changing. And we're also seeing the changes because now the women are becoming strong. And some of the men now, they are running away from their responsibility. And that's why we are seeing so many mid-career women. Those who are in relationship, either they are married or they are cohabiting, there are so many challenging men living their responsibilities. So there's a lot, and then the other discussion is saying, you guys, for example, as how we're being told, you're over concentrating on women, and now look, the men are not becoming stronger the way they're supposed to be. So at the end of the day, each one of us should take up their position and do what they're supposed to do. From there, that's when now we're going to have those strong institutions. That's when we're going to have so many women lawyers, leading law firms, those big ones, taking up leadership even at the global level. And having so many women becoming members of those institutions such as Tower, and then we become strong and we move together, supporting one another.
Thank you so much, Chike. That was very insightful. Because of shortage of time, Shezad, I'll go back to you with the very question that I started with. Now, for some of you who don't know Shezad, he's also known for, if he passed by somewhere, some people will refer him or joke about it like the robots are coming. And that actually comes from this very famous presentation that he made about robots and all that. And I want to go back to you. I want you to tell us, when you look at technology and the challenges that TK and Laila have actually, addressed, are there tools that you think women can actually tap into that already exist? And I know you've mentioned that, some women are not multitaskers, even if we do multitask. Is there anything that we can do or pick from technology that can actually help us better ourselves and therefore really stay and move others forward with us?
Sure. So I just want to pick up from where TK said. TK, it's not like men don't want to be strong, but I have a very successful wife, and I watched a movie where the woman was very successful and the man turned into the guy who stays at home. And after watching that movie, I did make that proposal to my wife. I said, I can cook, so why not? But she refused. So I think this is not just for women, but I think it's also for men. Learning is continuous. Like what Laila said, she just gave a tip, the University of Nicosia. We really need to make use of technology. For women, it is becoming even more, I would say, important, especially because of what TK mentioned. Yes, women do have to take a break when they're expecting, when they go on maternity leave. And it's necessary for them to take a break, probably even before and after they give birth. So in that sense, your best friend has to be technology to begin with. You need to be able to be well competent. From the basics, on learning how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, towards learning how to communicate via Teams, Zoom, etc. So the basics are key. I come across a lot of women and a lot of men actually who cannot operate the computer at this age. And so you will always be disadvantaged, and your employers will always say, okay, so you're going on maternity leave for 3 months. She is not going to be very helpful to us. So what do we do? And hence, going and taking those courses, learning new things. Right now we have a lot of applications on the internet, on Google or the App Store, where you can learn new things. I've seen women now going into Forex trading as well. So that tells you that if you can sort of have that motive, or if you can go out there and tell yourself, I want to learn more, that's where it starts. So TK talked about values, but I will say learn, learn, learn. You know, you have to keep learning and keeping up with the current trends. But also, I would say attending forums and conferences that go around. Yes, the numbers may be less, but you need to be there, and you will see. One person that I really admire again in this room is somebody called Hafsa. You know, Hafsa, when I met her, you know, I didn't know her, but we kept bumping into each other at every conference. And today, I can proudly say that I know her and she's successful in my opinion. So, and she's currently the women representative at the East African Law Society. Yeah. So, and that's because she was attending conferences and she kept giving me tips. I'm going to learn this and I'm going to learn this. And that's something that I always looked up to, and I said, I wish sometimes the women around me or the women in my law firm, you know, tell me, Shazada, I'm going to go, you know, do this training, you know. But so you need to keep learning, and that's how I think growth will come, and you'll be able to deal with all these challenges.
At least rounding up our session. It's been very interesting, and time is really running out. But I don't think it will be fair if I don't take a couple of questions. So this time, people allow me few, so that we actually take questions from the members of the floor. I see Hafsa has a question. If she, and probably if you have another question, maybe there's another one from another beautiful lady there. So we'll take those. Oh, there's another from a gentleman. So we'll take those few questions, and then the panel will respond.
Okay, thank you, Minister, for giving me this opportunity. My question goes direct to Laila. I'm not sure if she can hear me. Yes, okay. So when she was speaking, she mentioned something about by the time legal fraternity or law respond to the market is always 10 steps ahead, and the women are always 20 steps behind. So my question is, do you consider yourself 20 steps behind the men? If yes, why? And if no, why? Thank you.
I think we'll take all the questions and then they'll respond to
Thank you very much. Mine is not a question, it's rather a little contribution on how in professional life we deal with women and they encounter the needs. Shazad spoke of his experience, and I like him for sharing whatever he said, which is very true. Women are capable of doing things. Now, I had a situation like 2 weeks ago. I have 2 interns from the law school. This guy told me the interns are all girls, very young, almost very young. Now, young but married. Now, I had a case in the East African Court of Justice in Arusha, and I understand that very few lawyers from our side in Tanzania do appear in that court. So I had to tell my partner that I wanted 2 law school girls. I have to go there to Arusha and see what's happening in court, because it's very important to learn. But I'm telling you, he's a gentleman as well. How do I tell this girl that I'm going with you to Arusha? Fortunately, they are coming from Arusha, their parents are in Arusha. So, okay, when I gave that matter to them, I said, okay, you will have this opportunity, but I won't be sharing a hotel with you. You have to go and sleep at your mama's place. So this stereotype that TK spoke about, and the perception that men have toward women in the professional life, and especially past lawyers who have always pointed out that this, especially men, so you have to train people, for example, when you talk to law school, you have to go with them to court and all that. But there's a stereotype, because now,
the image that you create in order. So I think we need to handle those things. Since about when in practice, we need to take on board the ladies and encourage them whereby you can be professional and you can stand out without looking for favors or going around with men for you to excel. The examples tunazo nyingi dada yangu hapo amesoma darasa moja. I know how she's very strong. She's made herself, lakini pia kwa encouragement for watu wengine national and a lot of other strong ladies. So I want to share that.
Hello everybody, I'm Gladness from ITM, we're HR company.
To be addressed, reward management schemes to be addressed, career enhancement to be addressed. It shows that when the digital transformation is taking place, then the women are again lagging behind, maybe 20 steps behind. And the problem here is that it's because of access to resources, access to knowledge, access to training and capacity development, access to networks, and understanding the market and its needs, right? How much time are women having in terms of understanding what the market's needs are? To what extent are they able to access these important goalposts to enable them to move with the market and to also overtake men in this particular field? So time, investment, energy, and multitasking and being tech savvy are really, really important. I heard about women being given maternity leave. Yeah, fine. But what about women who don't have children? Why can't we give them agile working leave so that they're able to invest time in understanding what the market needs, developing and enhancing their knowledge and skill set, and then moving along that trend? So I don't consider myself as 20 steps behind. I think myself and many of the women I work with are actually with the market, working with the market, and perhaps even 30, 40 steps ahead of the men within our field. And I say this not only because of the kind of experience that I've been exposed to, but I have had, a lot of exposure in terms of the networks globally, in terms of understanding what are the key issues that the market needs. So currently, illicit financial flows and the metaverse are key issues, are core issues for the next 10, 20 years that Africa as a continent is going to be addressing. So from a very long time, since 2010, I identified this issue, and I thought that, okay, so tax expertise is important, and there are very few women who are tax experts within Kenya. So maybe this is something that I need to take up. So I invested heavily in tax research, and I decided that, after 5 years of practice, I'm now 11 years into practice, but within the 5th year, I knew that, chambers and litigation was not it for me. It was not going to enhance me in terms of developing myself and being an international player, because that's where my aims are. So I decided to align myself with an academic institution, the University of Nairobi. I made sure that I got a spot there to be able to teach. And as part of the University of Nairobi, together with like-minded women and also my male counterparts, we set up something called the Committee on Fiscal Studies. And this is a research think tank that keeps us very relevant to what the market's needs are. And it also is a platform through which we engage in strategic partnerships and collaboration with other universities and other donor institutions to be able to get research funding so that we are constantly providing market-driven analysis and scholarship. So I think trying to balance litigation, chambers practice with academia.
I feel like even that time was not enough.
I think, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I just wanted to get, I wanted to clarify, because I understood what she meant, was, you see, when you give the women 3 months, and then you give the men 3 days, so that doesn't create a balance. If you do then maybe give the men at least maybe 1 month, that way you will also be able to determine how efficient is the man during his leave maybe, So that's because as much as women have to regain their energy and all, men need some time to spend with their child, like the born baby, right? But then we're forced to go back in 3 days. That's what she's asking me.
Now, we did a small research at some point on that component because at some point we are advocating for the increased numbers of days for men to stay home. And then in that particular research, we realized that most of the time, when men are given that time, they don't do that. They don't help.
Sure.
They are always out. It is the responsibility of the aunties who come to help that woman. But I think the world is also changing. This is something that maybe we have to start thinking. Because most of the, let's say, the mid-class people, yeah? And most of the mid-class people nowadays, I just they try, but not that much as the way it's supposed to be done. But it's the challenge that maybe we can start that conversation because it was there before, but then it didn't work. But we are changing the technology and all that. The world is changing. Maybe we should start that conversation. But for me, I think the numbers of days, 3 months, are not even enough for the women to rest and regain their energy. But with the technology, we can add the number, okay, the month, and they can work from home. Because now we have Leila here, and we're not missing anything. And during COVID, most of us were working from home, and we didn't miss anything. So those are some of the conversations we should start doing now.
Well, I think to add on to what TK has just said, I still feel I hold the same view with, was it Gladness? Because see, we have to be really present here. When you give a woman 3 months and you give her husband 3 days, you literally are giving a man an upper hand in actually staying working for many months. So this goes on to say that in the 3 months, thanks to technology, but imagine if the husband was home with me 2 months out of that 3 months. That means I won't miss out a team's meeting because, hey, he will be actually feeding my baby. Because literally he has almost the same time as me. Or even 1 month, so to speak. Yeah, I'll attend a team's meeting, and if the baby cries amid that period, I won't have to worry because he's there. So I think, as she said, to me at least, it's a very valid point. When you talk about parental leave and actually retaining women in workplaces, you really have to factor in men. And in as much as it's a cultural thing, I think it's a high time that men actually start learning that, even if it's a very different thing or no, but we see male counterparts doing it abroad in all these Nordic countries where we see the percentage of women actually are working, taking up these, bigger roles, leadership roles. So we really need to go back and because we have a lot of low team players here, I think it's actually a discussion to have. And I'll pose that to, members of the room here. Let's think about it, because at the end of the day, it really starts with us. If we have years of a thing that is actually dragging women back and men ahead, it's high time we start, steering that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I wish, we had so much time to speak about the topic, but unfortunately time is not with us. Yeah, for many of you will know, when it comes to women, I think I'll talk and talk and talk and talk. But thank you so much to my very wonderful and able panel. I think they've managed to really give us the insights that we needed for the day. And thank you, Laila, for joining from there. And we think technology and where the world is going, we were able to actually get very interesting tips. And I think you mentioned this university, to be honest, I didn't hear that. So for the members, I hope Shezad and the team will probably reach out to Leila for her details and everything. I see a lot of young lawyers here that really need to take advantage of that. Other than that, asanteni sana kutusikiliza, and thank you so much for giving us your time. And I wish you a very good, interesting day as you're going to dive into other panels. We are now going to talk about some other things, not women. Kwa karibuni sana and have a very, very wonderful day. Thank you so much.